Welcome once again to the Power Lunch Live podcast. As I always think when I say that, it's not technically a podcast because I don't put it on podcast feed. It's more of a live video cast. Whatever it is, it's Power Lunch. It's definitely live. It's something else. We have our guest, Irby is back for a second time, and Shane is for the first time. But for those of you, for my American audience, I think is probably most of it, yeah, just wait till Shane speaks because he's got an accent. You're going to love it. But got some suspense coming up for that. So a couple of announcements I'm going to lead off with. One, because I need to promote things, and two, because people don't log on for the first 60 seconds, so it's a good time to promote things. Next, 2 weeks from now is the Global Networking Summit, February 21st to 24th. We have 30 speakers. You can get access to recorded content for free during the event. And then we have some live networking after hours. And then on the 24th, a 24-hour around the world global networking event included in the VIP ticket there. I also want to share this new platform that I've become involved with because some really cool people have introduced me to it. It's called Be Connected. It's kind of next generation LinkedIn, seems where it's going. It's definitely early stage, but early stage just means they keep adding features at a fairly regular clip. But it has, they got people doing, there's groups, there's live audio or video shows. I'm not sure. I haven't dove in completely into it. It's got some great search tools to find people. And if you go to guyknowsaguy.com/BK, then you can come in and follow me on there and meet some really cool people. So check out that Be Connected platform. And do one more thing. I do have another podcast, Morning Motivation Not Fun. That actually is a podcast, a daily motivational podcast, where my excited voice with some music gets you fired up every morning. See, Dee is excited just hearing about it. And now we're going to go around and do introductions that are other people who aren't me. Tell us a bit about yourself, and then we're going to take it away and have some fun. So, Dia, go ahead. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. I live in North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina. I've lived in multiple southern states, moved 15 times, which inspires me to help people as a realtor in the moving from one house to another. I know that experience. I'm also an author and speaker. I like to talk about building community, and especially in the home with parents, because I am a parent of 8 children, and they are all grown and out of the house. I'm an empty nester. My husband and I have been married almost 50 years, and we are empty nesters after 45 years.
All right. And Shane.
Hello, folks. I am Shane from Ireland, and it's great to meet you all. I am a coach, mentor, and a speaker as well. I am happily single. Okay, I'm self-employed. I've been in business now just over 7 years, and we work with sort of like coaches and consultants and entrepreneurs. We help them grow and develop their business online and to obviously generate revenue. As I say, I'm from Ireland, and it's great to be great people. And thanks for having me, Michael. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, glad to have you here.
Do you live in Ireland now, or where do you live?
Yeah, I live in Ireland now, yeah.
So we have 3 countries. I'm in the South, and that's one. No.
yeah. You're in the South. I'm in the Northeast, and you're in. Wait, no, I think those are still the same country technically.
Oh, right.
For now.
But we have 3 accents.
Yes.
I speak Southern. How's your mama, Nia?
Yeah. We definitely do have 3 accents. That is definitely correct. Whether or not we're in separate countries is a whole different historical, political conversation.
Yes, it is.
We'll probably stay out of that one. It's just to stay safer. So, Dale, actually have you kick it off and talk, kind of lead us in a conversation about community and connecting and some what you do. And we'll talk about that for a bit. And then we'll have Shane talk a bit about business growth. But in the meantime, we'll all have a big old conversation. I'm apparently picking up your accent. Big old conversation.
Big old conversation. I don't want anybody to be rode hard and put up wet when we're done. Okay, so we're gonna explore this. No, community is so important. And what's interesting is, Michael, that's what you do. You connect people, because people need to be connected.
Mm-hmm.
And Shane, just a quick review of your website. You're helping people live life while they're building their business. So it's all about being. And we're not human doings, we're human beings. So we need to be careful what we're being. And I do have my concept of community I put together in this acrostic. You can see it. Claim. If I put it right up there, you can see it under mine. Yes. Each letter stands for a concept. This isn't insurance. It's people want to be more than just connected. They want to be claimed. That's why you have people involved in street gangs, because they get claimed and they can take on the colors or whatever. And especially since the pandemic, more people say that they're lonely. 3 out of 5 adults claim a serious feeling of loneliness. Well, that's too many. So what can we do? We can build community. We can build community in our homes, how we do our businesses, and just how we relate to the special people in our lives. The C stands for chosen. You want to communicate to people that you are choosing them to be in a relationship with them. And even with your child, you can say, if all the girls in all the world were lined up and I could pick anyone, I would choose you. Say that to your daughter and make her feel special. The L is loved. That means unconditional. Not I love you because, but I love you in spite of whatever you did or who you are. The A is acknowledged. I acknowledge that you are an individual with special gifts and abilities and talents and dreams. I acknowledge you by listening. And if you take the letters of listen and rearrange them, do you know what it spells?
Yes, I'm not good at anagrams.
Silent.
Silent.
Silent. So we listen when we're silent and not writing the conversation of what we're going to say next, right? So we can acknowledge people by listening. And then the I is investing. Now, I know, Michael, that you're going to invest money in your daughter, or you're going to invest in your home, or you're going to invest, it takes a lot of money. But there's, how children spell love. What they expect to be invested is time, time. So you can invest time in a relationship and in your employees or the people that you're working with, investing your time with them and giving them training. That's another way, or teaching them skills. And then the M, it could be M for made for greatness, because I believe every person was created and put on this earth with a special gift that only they can bring. It's like they are their own individual size and shape of the puzzle that fits in all of the world. And I'm sure you agree with that as well. But even more than that, the M could stand for they matter. Part of the reason people feel lonely is because they think that if I weren't here, nobody would miss me because I don't matter. But we've got to let people know they do matter. We do care that they're here, and we recognize that they have something to offer, that they're going to make a difference in the world. And just like, all 8 of our children heard growing up from their pastor dad, may their life be like a pebble thrown into the ocean of the world, making ripples on every shore. And they are encouraged and told that you're made for greatness. You're going to do something out there. And they've lived on 6 continents. Yay, I get to go visit. And that's wonderful. Nobody moves to Ireland. I need them to move to Ireland because I like to listen to people in Ireland. Then I can come see you, Shane. But everybody needs to know their value. They matter. So And this is a really simple way to remember this, to stop and say, okay, let me take my temperature. Am I doing these things with this relationship? So that's what I have to offer.
Yeah, well, I absolutely agree. I mean, community, if you think of what a community actually is, it's really just a series of relationships connected to relationships connected to relationships. And normally you're part of a community that's, fairly positively infectious as well. I mean, we in business and what we do, we try and build relationships all the time. And then there's that unconditional relationship that you have where it just feels right, And I suppose I come from the health and fitness background, and we are part of a community called CrossFit. If you know what CrossFit is, and it is just when you think of a community, it's astonishing because anybody that really performs or does CrossFit, you feel like you know them. You feel like you are connected to them. And I say CrossFit's pretty famous in America as well, as you guys know. It started there, so it's and I'm just actually we had CrossFit today, and it's just an amazing community. As much as you're looking after your health and fitness and looking after yourself, everybody just has a relationship automatically, and you feel connected to them. And it's sort of that unconditional relationship that we have maybe with our parents or our loved ones. I know you mentioned our daughters or sons. Absolutely, communities are so important, and I loved your claim. I'm gonna steal that off you. Claim. I love that.
Well, I hope it helps. I hope it helps. And you would agree that you are a person that wants to get physically fit is going to be more successful if they're doing it in community, if they have a partner, even if they don't have a coach, if they have somebody that they're going to be accountable to, that's going to cheer them on, they're in community, and that's important. I have a quote: in the sea of humanity, belonging is a shore of security, love, and identity.
Amazing. Yeah, because I play a lot of team sports as well. If you think of, and I do this with some, like in some corporate events, if you spell the word team, so together, everyone achieves more. And we're all a part of a team. When you're in a community, you're part of a team. You're nearly like fighting for that community. It's like being in a family, as I say, and we all know what it feels like to be a part of a loving and caring family, and that's what communities are like. But essentially, and I believe that relationships are so important, and we are meant to build, strong, genuine, and sincere, and happy and successful relationships with people. That's our point of being alive, is to build relationships and to connect with others. So yeah, I agree absolutely with the idea. Communities are so important. Yeah.
Yep. And what you're saying about the you exercise, you get healthier, better in community. Absolutely found that. I've joined all kinds of gyms. I tried all kinds of things. I'll do for a month, 2 months, and then busy. I don't have time. And then I joined a karate dojo, and I think part is the community, and partly is also the taking on the identity. So if your identity is I'm a chubby guy who's trying to get fit at the gym, well, then you'll try to get fit at the gym, as we were talking about before we went on the air. But if you take an identity of I'm a karate student, well, a karate student doesn't not go to class for a week. The universe has conspired to put some obligations during some of my classes during the week, which would be an issue. But still, I'm a karate student. It becomes normal to go and aberrant not to go, as opposed to I'm a guy who doesn't go to the gym, but I try, where it's normal to stay home and abnormal to go to the gym. If you can change that identity. And of course, the community is the people who, when you're not there for a week, are like, hey, you okay? Is everything okay? I haven't seen you in a bit. Kind that they care, they're watching out for you. It's a huge thing for keeping you going.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, as you say, like we've all been through ups and downs in our life. We've all been through challenges, and struggle. But there's always someone that's been through that as well, and that's where the community pulls you in and looks after you in your time of need, and vice versa as well. And that's why they're so important. That's why communities are. There's sort of trying to be created everywhere, and there's probably, unfortunately, there's certain communities aren't developing in the way that they probably want to, but you can, and I'm sure the three of us are part of different communities that we sort of feel like we need in our life, because they are so important. They're, as I say, they're nearly like brothers and sisters in our life, you know.
Yeah, I think some of the challenge too is trying to create intentional communities, because you'll have community, family forms on its own. People live in the same town, small town, might form its own thing. But as things get so big, where the town I live in is 42,000 people, and that's considered a small to medium sized town these days. But 100 years ago, 40,000 people was a fairly major city. Wasn't quite New York City size, but it was pretty big. So our history has evolved to be in communities of a few hundred, maybe a couple thousand. So when you have a county of 250,000, that's considered small. Then you have to become very intentional about how do you create the communities in there, and you get more interest communities and more online communities. But then that's even more intentional, because you're not going to bump into someone walking over to the coffee pot during the meeting, because there's no coffee pot and there's no walking and there's no over. So you need to really build that intentionally, and it's done well. It can be amazing. I was recently at a summit that was on Zoom, and it made me realize what's possible in the virtual space just using a Zoom room. Because I always thought you needed special platforms that did these different things. I'm like, no, you just need to engage the audience and really make them feel part of it. But so I'm creating those communities, and then also you can be part of a larger community without having individual relationships. So you can have that Zoom room and you got the energy and the vibe, and then it's over and you're like, I don't know anybody. There's no one to follow up with. And I'm alone again. So that's another thing. Community large and community small. I'm thinking about those kind of two different concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. I agree with the intentional. You have to decide that you are going to either build or go find a community to be involved in. It's a decision. You decide to do it. You don't not do it. You either decide not to do it or do it. Where did I hear that today? Somewhere. I heard somebody talking about not trying, but either doing or not doing.
Yeah. I think someone had a Facebook Live about that.
Yeah, earlier today.
Yeah. I had a Facebook Live earlier today about deciding and being all in or all out, one way or the other. The particular impetus for it is that our governor here in Connecticut likes to make half decisions. He likes to punt decisions. So, regardless of how you feel about mask mandates, a statewide mask mandate makes sense either on or off. The state has one or doesn't have one, and he loves to punt. So he'd be like, yeah, so my decision is let the towns decide. Well, oh, I didn't do it. It's the towns. Oh, your local municipality made that decision. Oh, your local school board made that decision. But it's not making a decision. It's deciding to abdicate responsibility. And for anything, you need to make that decision. I'm going to stay at my job. I'm going to start a business. You can't be like, I'll kind of maybe start a business a little bit. Now you can decide I'm staying at my job and exploring, but your decision is I'm staying at my job. You're not jumping. You can't jump off the dock, and you can't jump in the water and stay on the dock at the same time.
Yeah.
Really?
As Yoda says, there is no try. Thanks, James.
Absolutely. Well, and talking about intentional also, that I would like to credit the person that originally said it, but you become the average of the people you surround yourself with. What, 5 or 6 people that you're with? So back to your point about working out in the class, being a member of that karate, that you're surrounding yourself with a type of people, so you're going to become that person. And if you're surrounding yourself with positive, caring, connecting people, you will feel more like you're part of a community.
It's Jim Rohn, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was right there.
Yeah, I'm not smarter. I just Googled it while you were talking.
Yeah, Jim Rohn's one of my favorite speakers of all time. I think he's amazing. Yeah, he's amazing at what he does.
He had some wisdom to share.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just thought he was an amazing speaker. The way he, I suppose, pulled you in, and I suppose he, in the personal development space, he made it comedy. He made fun. He made it fun as well, which is amazing. I thought really easy to listen to.
Yeah, Zig Ziglar's the same way with the. Although the challenge of Zig Ziglar is he's so appealing and so much fun to listen to that he can say things that don't necessarily actually work in execution, but they sound so good when he says them. And if you've got his timing, sense of humor, and accent, you can carry it off.
Yeah.
When I tried to do it, it sounded dumb. and so, he'd say these things, but they'd be in his, slick Texas drawl, and it sounded awesome. And then you're like, I can't do that. I want to be more like him, but I don't sound like him.
Which brings us back to the point that every person is made for greatness in their own way, their own special puzzle piece that fits in the picture of the world. So Judy, here's a credit. Judy Garland said, don't be a second-rate version of someone else. Be a first-rate version of yourself.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's what I was trying to emphasize in my podcast, because I a lot of these motivational things that talk about you can be the best in the world. You can go to the top, which is fine, but 9 out of 10 people aren't going to the top, and they don't want to. They want to go to the top of, the hill. They want to go to the top of the next hill, 500 feet. They don't want to go to the top of Mount Everest. They don't want to make the sacrifices. They don't want the commitment. They don't need that outcome. There's people out there who are like, if I can make $50,000 a year, spend more time with my family, maybe go on a vacation once a year, that would be a happy life.
Yeah.
And if they get suckered into working 70 hours a week to make $1 million, even if they make $1 million, they still lose because they're playing the wrong game.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to look at personality types, like the DISC profile, the DISC, and if there were some way to chart, Ds are driven, they are dominant, they are cut all the mess out. I just tell me what to do, I'm gonna go do it, and they're Ds. But a C is a person, an S is somebody that wants it steady and wants it stable and is not highly motivated except for in their own personality of making sure everything is going right in the, so I wonder how, if there were a way to look at the people that are successful, but what personality types there are.
Yeah, that's weird, because I was speaking to a mentor of mine about that DISC formula today in regards to I'm starting up a networking community, and we want to identify personalities, and we're using that DISC formula. So that's really weird that you mentioned that.
No, it's just we're connected. We're connected.
We're all
the way over to the other side of the world.
Yeah, actually, so there's a friend of mine, Leah Fink. She teaches something called True Colors, which is kind of like, so once she explained that, like DISC is a little bit arbitrary where it draws the lines of like where you stop being D and start being I. True Colors is a little bit, it's more seems to align with like where people fall. So it's 4 things, 4 colors. And they somewhat line up to DISC, but not exactly. So, and I probably will not do it justice, try to explain it, but I'll try. So orange is your, your adventurous. They tend to line up with the Ds, adventurous, trying stuff. All right, let's go. The entrepreneur tends to have a lot of orange in them. The other thing about True Colors is that it's got everyone has some of each of the colors. So it's not like you're D or S. You are orange, blue, green, and gold, but it's what are you more of, and what are you exhibiting more of? So yeah, orange is the adventurer. Kids tend to be a lot more orange because they're just like, let's go out in the woods, do some stuff. Gold is your organized type, so closer to C. But your spreadsheets and your process and systems. Green is your researchers. Spock. is green. Wants all the data, wants all the information, wants everything to make sense and go together. And then blue is your people. Blues want to host the party and shake the hands and run around and make big noises. I imagine that could be extroverted and introverted blues, but that's more about the human interaction. Remembering your someone's daughter and their back and their when Dee and I came on before we went on the air, she was like, "Yo, how's your daughter? How's your back? I'm like, did you take notes? You just remember things well." I'll remember to introduce people to. I won't remember those details.
Yeah, I'm an I. Well, there are also the 4 animals that these personalities have been compared to. Have you heard the animals? There's the lion. There's like the D, the chart forward. There's the golden retriever that is the person at the party that'll go find the lonely person and spend time making sure they feel good. And then there's the beaver that arranges everything. So that's probably like the C. And then, wonder what I am. It's the otter. It's party time. Let's go have fun. There's the otter. So yeah, it doesn't matter what I'm using. I'm usually the same person category. But the one that I have recently found out, have you heard of the Enneagram?
I know of it. I haven't.
I've heard of it, yeah.
That is a deep study. Actually, one of my daughters and a friend of hers have a podcast about it. And I didn't know you could know so much about any one subject. It's ridiculous. It's called Not My Type Enneagram.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
I'm high orange, high D. I don't deep study anything.
Yeah, you already know. Let's just move on. And
if I can't learn in a conversation with people, then it's not totally true. But it's.
Well, what are you, Shane? What are you?
Well, I'm definitely not the dominant one. I'm definitely not that. I would say I'm a mixture of probably. You're right. We're all probably a mixture of them all in some ways. Like I can be very, in suppose the health and fitness world, I can be very competitive and I want to be the winner all the time. I want to be the best at it, like in business in a way. But then when it comes to maybe like organizing things, like timekeeping, yeah, I'm fairly relaxed and don't really care too much about restrictions and things like that. So I suppose it depends what it is really,
What you want to accomplish. Well, it does sound almost like you're a D because you want to win and you want to be on top, and you're not a C, which is the person that has to have all the things lined up, all the details. Just I studied this because in real estate, you stop and pay attention to if people are saying when, they're usually a D. If they're saying why, then they could be an S. If they're saying how, they're a C. And if they're saying who, they're an I. So, and talking to people, if you identify what their personalities are, and I think I got those right. I haven't reviewed that in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose it's really interesting when you have that. We all have an opinion of ourselves, but someone can very easily tell you that you're wrong. So yeah, it's interesting when people give you feedback that you were unaware of, or maybe that you thought different. So I suppose that's the joys of going back to the community and the relationship thing, where we give people if we are in a relationship with someone that's dominant, they would soon tell us,
Right. It's like there are 3 versions of you, actually 4. There's who you think you are. There's who other people think you are. There's who, and then there's who you really are, who God knows you to be. So yeah, 3 versions. Mm-hmm. So you want to align those to be authentic as much as you can.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and another reason why community is so important. So I recently had the privilege of going down to an event down in Dallas, and they gave us a disc profile test. So answer these 4, and it was pretty transparent. It was like in columns, so it asks you a question, then like which one's most true for you. So I could tell which ones were the D answers. Of course, if you know it, you know which ones are which anyway. And so I'm looking at it, and the way I answered it first was this like, oh, that's probably, but now this is really who I am, want to be, not who I am, who I want to be. And as I thought about it, I think it was 30 questions. And so I was sort of in the middle-ish. And I thought about it more and more, and I realized that a lot of the D traits I was subverting, because back in my early 20s, I was part of a community of, there are a lot of people in it who were insecure or not as comfortable expressing themselves. And I've always been kind of loud and bombastic anyway. And I was in a position of authority, and it led to some conflict and ultimately being pushed out of leadership. And, I was young and dumb. And so the lesson I took from it is I need to be less dominant and less aggressive, because when you do that, you lose your friends and you lose your position. And I carried that with me apparently all the way to last December, because I'm filling this out and I'm looking, I'm like, no, this is me. This in the D column, that's really who I am. This I is who I think I'm supposed to be, but this is who I am. And when I went back and redid it, I went from being like slightly the D, but more I, I'm like, I'm a connector, I'm an I, yeah. And then I redid it and I came out like 23 out of 30 questions were D. Like,
there's a clue.
I'm like, oh, that's who I'm supposed to be. Now, it may be a coincidence that it was 2 months later that my business achieved profitability and I signed up my first 4 clients and found my focus. Or it could be because I finally came into alignment with who I actually am and stopped trying to be an I. But I would actually have like a negative impression of the D quadrant. I'd be like, oh, no, I know what the D is. I didn't know what DISC was back 20 years ago, but like, that's that person I used to be that everyone hated. And I don't want to be that guy. And I realized you can be a D and not be a jerk. So it's about being a dominant, not jerk.
Yeah. You are so much older and wiser. That's what it is.
I certainly hope so. It's 15 years later.
It is helpful to understand that. And also thinking about, like, the first time I ever did it, I was only thinking about in my marriage relationship and not how I am when I am responsible or in a leadership position in some organization or something. And I'm coming more in line with all the parts coming together. But whatever it is, I'm an otter. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose what I wanted the word that sticks out for me is like freedom. And when I was asked questions of what I wanted to be when I grew up, I always said I just wanted to be free. And I didn't really know what that was. I just said that, and they would say, "What do you mean by freedom?" And I didn't know. But I suppose through the years, I really realized what that is. When I started in business, I thought it was money. I thought I needed all this money to feel free. And then we got some money and realized that wasn't the answer I was looking for. But I suppose when you ask yourself enough questions and the same question repetitively, you do create this life for yourself and this version of yourself, and then this goal and this dream. And I suppose freedom to me has just been inner peace within yourself, because I suppose if we look back to maybe 13 years ago, 14, 15 years ago, I was very introverted, insecure, a shadow of probably the person I am now. And I felt maybe in a cage in my own body, and I just wanted to feel free from that. And I suppose with development and personal development and maybe taking leap, like going on stage was incredibly difficult for me, and speaking, I got so nervous and the shakes, I nearly took a heart attack one time. So I suppose it's ripping off that them bars and releasing myself into the world to feel free is something that I feel really, really strongly about. It's really, really important to me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what you're saying about trying to find what you're looking for and thinking it's money. There's a great tool that I found a while ago called 7 Levels Deep, and it's a coaching tool, but there's also a website that basically does it for you. And when you go to that site, it asks you, what do you want to do? And you type it in. I want to make $1 million. I want to be free. I want to whatever. And then you hit enter and it says why and gives you another box. And then you're going to type something in and hit enter. It's going to say why. And it does it 7 times. When I went through that exercise about a year ago, I started at, I want more prospects, which looking back is funny because I barely had an offer, let alone anything to sell them. So I don't know what I would have done with more prospects, but I want more prospects. And so the coach who was training me took me down the path of, why? And, prospects will lead to more sales. Sales give me more money. Money will let me spend less time working, I think. So at the end of this, it started with, I want more prospects. I got to, I want to spend more time with my daughter. At that point in my business, I had no revenue. I was making all my money in like side gig work. So if I worked 3 days a week instead of 5 days a week, my income would have been the same. And I'm like, wait a minute. At the end, I want to spend more time with my daughter. I'm not making money doing these activities. This is future business growth stuff. Why don't I just take time away from the future business growth and give it straight to my daughter in the first place, skip 7 steps? But if I hadn't gone through that exercise, I would have been working 60 hours a week, spinning my wheels, when the thing I was ultimately working for was right in front of me. I think it so often happens that people chase money, or they chase power, or they chase followers on Instagram, or they chase whatever they've been told the thing is, and they never get there. Or they get there and they're like, okay, now what? That's the worst strategy, when you make $1 million and realize it didn't do anything for you, and you made the sacrifices to get there. And especially if you sacrificed the things that you were actually working for. You sacrifice your relationship, you sacrifice your health, you sacrifice your morals to get the money, and then realize the only reason you wanted the money was so you could have a better relationship and better health and do better things in the world.
Yeah. We have a saying at the office: the purpose of business is to fund the perfect life.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to build a business worth having and a life worth living.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. I say with me, when I first started out, I put everything into just work. The grind, you hear the grind and the hustle. And I put everything, I sacrificed everything, my health, my relationship, the communities that I was a part of. I nearly locked myself away and devoted everything to work and making, money. And then when you do get to a point where you feel like, okay, financially you should be happy here, you've really no one to share it with. And you've lost everything along the way, which is difficult. But it is I suppose we're all here for a reason, and we are meant. Everything that we experience in life is meant for us as well. So I was maybe meant to go through all that, just to, I suppose, to learn from it and learn that you need to continue to have a balance there among all the things that you love.
Yeah, I've definitely found that. When I look back at things that I used to look at and be like, why, if that hadn't happened, I would have been so far ahead and I would have gone so much better. And then I realized, oh, no, that turned out okay. Which is not to say I wouldn't want to teach other people to avoid it. Just because it worked out well for me doesn't mean that you should do what I did. That really sucked. You should try it. But when I look back at being kicked out of leadership of the cast because I was too aggressive, or running a business that didn't make any money for my first 5 years out of college and hitting 30 with debt and bad credit instead of hitting 30 with money in the bank and investments. Knowing what I know now, if I woke up tomorrow and I was 22, I would easily have a net worth over $1 million by 30, because now I know how to do it. And if I didn't have to dig out of a hole I dug myself into. But now that I'm here, I'm out of the hole, older, wiser, grayer. People think I'm 10 years older than I am because gray hair is a great branding tool. People ask me, again, color your hair. I'm like, what? Why would I do that? Then people would think I was younger. I don't want them to think I'm younger. I want them to think I want them to think I'm a vibrant 55-year-old and not the 41-year-old that I actually am.
Hey, take it to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is funny how age, like how people perceive age. When I was 29, I was about to turn 30. Of course, when you're 29, 30 is just this side of death. You're like, well, 30, that's like fourth quarter. And then, we run out, and then off to the pasture. I was at an event, and I was the guest handler for Terrence Dunich. He's the director who created this little cult classic movie, instant cult classic, called Repo the Genetic Opera, which most people have never heard of, and those who have seen it either really, really hated it or absolutely loved it. It's this goofy little, that's a cult classic. So I'm driving him around, and I happened to mention that, I'm about to turn 30, and I don't know what I'm doing. Because at this point, my business had failed. I'd been kicked out of all these things, and I was working a job I didn't like. So I'm about to turn 30, and I haven't done anything yet. I'm not going anywhere. And he said, when I was 30, I hadn't thought of repo. The reason I'm here, the reason they flew me out to come to this event, the reason you're driving me around, I hadn't even thought of it when I was 30. Everything came after that. And I was like, oh, there's not some clock running. I can come up with new things later. Because you get this idea, I think we're getting away from that some in our culture, but there's certainly this idea of the clock's running out. You only got so much time. Yeah. And now I'm meeting people who started their business when they were 65. And they're like, there's always more time, and you can always get smarter.
Yeah.
I just read a post somewhere about all the people that got their PhDs or got awarded all these, research awards for various things. And they were 60s, 70s, 80s. Mm-hmm. It takes all that living to get the experience and knowledge to turn into wisdom and life lessons that enrich a person. So, and old age, getting older is a privilege denied many.
Yes.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love getting older. I suppose maybe in a selfish way, I'm incredibly lucky that I'm very aware, and I feel like the person I am today, I've built a very strong foundation for, enjoying life. And, if I want to earn money, I can do that. If I want to build relationships, I can do that. We can connect with people face to face and online now from anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. I think the older I get, then the better life's going to get as well. So I'd be excited to get older. I love it. And again, age, you're 100% right, Michael. Age has absolutely nothing to do with success or decline. It's Dia, you're 100%. I know so many people that unfortunately haven't made it this far in life. So that's it's to be appreciated, and it's definitely a blessing to be here and to continue to be here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. There's some things that you can't do as you get older, but not many, and most of them don't matter. The things that I quote unquote can't do now that I'm older, I probably could. I just don't want to.
I did my first sprint triathlon, which is a mini version, when I was 60.
Yeah, it's usually more social. So you can't necessarily go out to a bar and or go out to the clubs, but then you realize you don't want to.
Well, no,
I don't want to hang out with a bunch of 20-year-olds.
Right.
No offense to any 20-year-olds watching. I'm sure you're great.
Well, 20-year-olds don't want you at the bar. They want to have their own fun and not have the party crashed.
Well, it was a great experience driving Uber as much as I did, because I got to be a fly on the wall and sometimes in the conversation with this tremendous variety of people, from 19, 20, 21-year-old kids going out to parties, going to bars, to travelers, executives, concert promoters, just all kinds of different people struggling to survive who can't afford a car. All kinds of people end up in the back of an Uber. And so I got to listen in on these conversations of these kids, and some of them really impressed me, and some of them did not. But rarely was I listening to them like, oh man, I wish I could hang out with them. There were certainly, I will admit, there were some who on a surface level I would have enjoyed hanging out with, if you know what I mean. But preferably in a very loud place where I couldn't hear them talk.
Well, I also was an Uber driver for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Duke University, UNC, and NC State. And it was interesting, and I'm not going to characterize each of the schools by their people, but there was a definite difference in the people you picked up from the different schools. And I met some very interesting people and some people that I was glad to drop off.
Yep.
It's fun. Do you have Uber in Ireland?
In Ireland, I'm not sure about Dublin. I'm about 3 hours from Dublin. I've never tried to get Uber in Dublin, but it's definitely in England. So England's like a 60-minute, 40-minute flight away.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get it there. But yeah, I love Uber. It's unbelievable. It's really, really, really smart business.
It took off. Uber and Lyft. I never did Lyft, but yeah.
I did Lyft when Uber annoyed me.
Right.
That's a good thing from a market perspective. That's why it always drives me nuts when the Uber drivers are whining about like, I should be an employee and you should blah, blah, blah. Like, no, just manage your money better. You're making $30 an hour. And if you're not, you should do something else. You're making $30 an hour. It costs $3 an hour to run your car. But I have a Ford F-150. Well, then don't do Uber with a Ford F-150. You can't do Uber in a car that gets 11 miles a gallon. But yeah, it's such a great opportunity. It's such a great opportunity for entrepreneurs. That's what I used it for. I spent a year not knowing where my monetization path was. And instead of having to force it and being like, well, I better find money quick. And, coaching people I wasn't really suited to coaching or throwing together a program that was garbage. I didn't have to do that because I could just Uber and pay the bills and wait until I found the right thing and not end up with a whole bunch of programs I was ashamed of and like, oh man, my first year, I didn't have to do that. So I don't look back. I look back on my year of Ubering, not my year of embarrassing myself as a mediocre coach.
No, I used Uber because I was new into real estate and new into the town. So here I have people paying me to learn the area and prospect. Oh, so you're visiting town because you're thinking of moving here. Do you need a real estate agent to help you find a house?
Oh man, that's amazing.
Oh, so you're going to the airport to interview for a job. You might be moving. Well, I can help you sell your house. I had all my materials in the car ready to pass out to people. And they were paying me to talk to them. And, I would discover all these neighborhoods I didn't even realize existed and drive up to, I'd like to sell a house in this neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked for me too.
That's really smart.
Yeah, there's so much opportunity that it offers you. It's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many things, and that's just one thing in our modern time that's out there that people can benefit from.
Well, I have Airbnb.
Oh yeah, that's another
we
good
have
one.
A 3-story townhouse, and the first floor is one great big bedroom and a private bath.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, hey, we're only 2 of us because we're empty nesters. So why don't I let someone stay there and pay most of the payment? What's wrong with that?
There we go. So, all right. So we are coming towards the end of the hour. So I'm going to let you each share a final comment, and if there's anything you want to promote or let people know, give away, whatever you want to do, as long as it's not illegal and won't get me in trouble. Go ahead. So, final comments. Shane, you'll go first.
No, here it was amazing to be a part of this. Thank you very much, Michael and Dia. Lovely to meet you. It's great that we are in 3 different countries, and we can still communicate and connect. But I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and hopefully the listeners got plenty of value and were interested. I suppose a wee bit about me is I've created a really unique business model where we help business owners or coaches and consultants generate $1 million in revenue in 2 years. with a guarantee aligned to that, because we've got a team of like 40 experts in order to provide that guarantee. So it's a really interesting model. We only take on 10 people a year. We've got 7 already. So yeah, we have 3 spaces available. If there's any coaches or consultants out there that want to really grow and scale their business, they can connect with me online if they really want to, and we can have a chat and maybe build another community together.
Oh, that's great. That's a great model there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and yeah,
I have a question for Shane. On your website, is there a place to click to schedule that short little chat?
Yeah, if you go to contact in the services page, and that should work. If it doesn't, then please let me know.
Okay. Well, I have somebody I want to send to your website as a possible person that I
Amazing.
think. Yeah. So because that's what I do. I want to build community and connect people. Also, I'm the connector, communicator, and cultivator. So my last word, thank you so much. This was so fun. I hope I didn't over talk, do too much of the talking.
There's only 3 people on. You feel like you're talking a lot, but
yes,
you're talking the right amount. There's only 3 people on.
I would have preferred Shane to talk more because he's more fun to listen to. Maybe. Bless his heart. So anyway, yes, my website, diairby.com. On that, I know. Please go to my website and find the link to my TED Talk. I did a TED Talk, and watch it, because I think I'm like 6 views away from 1,000 views. And I would love, or you can just go to YouTube, TEDx, and put my name. I'm talking about the magic of the meal.
It's fine.
And it's like the whole idea about community and how eating food together literally makes a difference in our bodies when we are gathered around food and breaking bread and building community. And people don't do that as much anymore. So we need to get back to it. So that would be my one request, would be to go to my website and find my link to my TED Talk and watch that. I got other things, but that's my focus today.
I put the link in the comments. I think it landed on my page and the YouTube. But for those who are not looking at my page or YouTube, they can go to your website. And it looks like you have 997 views. So
3 more.
Yep. So when I have a minute, I'll let that play, or I'll just mute it and let it play in the background, because YouTube can't tell the difference. Gets you 998.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. I just had this goal of 1,000. So.
I think we can make that happen.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Hey.
I'm 1. Shane's 1, and we'll see if we can get you a 3rd one.
Yeah.
I'll watch my phone. I'll give another IP address.
I think it'll happen before we end this chat.
There we go. See, we make dreams happen.
Oh, right. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right. And so next week, we actually do not have, there will not be a power lunch, because I will be at an event called JV Elite, which is an exclusive joint venture networking event run by JVIC that I'm teamed up with. So I'll be busy there doing fancy networking things. However, the next week, the 25th, see, look at me, I'm organized. I actually know who's going to be on that show. We're going to have Les Watson, who does productivity and time management. He's so efficient, it's already tomorrow for him because he's in Australia. We got Sally Gimmon, who'll be talking about infinite banking, which is a really cool concept that uses insurance as a financial tool. Donna Carlisle is a VA who does some great things with systems. Had a great chat with her and learned a lot. And I've actually been able to refer to her a bunch of people because she's pretty cool. And Daniel Alfon, who does LinkedIn and networking, who I'll be meeting for the first time. So I'm excited for that as well. Be sure to go to Be Connected and guywhoknowsaguy.com/BK, because that is an up and coming platform. With the cool thing about these platforms is the early adopters tend to be the really influential connectors. So when you get in there early, it's like you at a whole bunch of big super connectors, and you're like, ooh, neat. And then you send them a request. You're like, neat, I have a request on Be Connected. Things are happening. So you can connect with people you might not otherwise get to because there's not a lot of people at the party yet. So definitely do check that out. And of course, my Global Networking Summit, globalnetworkingsummit.com, February 21st to 24th. And finally, if you enjoyed this show or any part of it, you should hit the share button on whatever platform you're on. Does YouTube have a share button? It does. LinkedIn share, Facebook share, YouTube share. This is going out on 6 different places. Most of them are on Facebook. So share it out to your community. Let them know. And if you're interested in being on the show, then leave a comment and I will connect with you. But for Dia and Shane, thank you so much for being here. I always love people with different accents than mine, especially when they have great ideas and bring great conversation. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Michael, for the opportunity. And so nice to hear Shane and meet Shane. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely to meet you all. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.